You guys know Richard, you guys know Simon. I tell you what, here's my first question. What would you guys say is your biggest accomplishment in life? I mean, you guys are known in tech, you're known in Web3. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment?
Meeting you, James. And no, I'm a dad, so like having kids and having them grow up with, and still being alive. It's hard to kind of imagine anything eclipsing that in terms of, I don't even know if it's an accomplishment, but it happens, so I'll take it.
I agree with you, just being alive is actually pretty right up there as one of the biggest accomplishments. Richard?
James, I go back, and I've shared this with you many times. There was a time in my life where I really battled. I mean, I was a security guard for 6 years, And
I don't remember that, by the way. I haven't heard that story yet.
Okay, so I know you've got memory problems, but I'll just. But I really am a testament to the fact that crypto can enable people to move out of a desperate situation in life into a good situation. I learned about crypto, I embraced the technology, I didn't do anything special. A lot of those opportunities are still available today. I took those opportunities, and it was the fact that I enabled myself, or was able to see what crypto could do, and jumped on board. And I think that is probably close to one of the things that at least I'm most known for, and something that I look back and think things could have been very, very different. So certainly a massive milestone in my life. But I don't know if it was accomplishment, or if it was dumb luck, or if it was able to see the obvious. But whichever way you slice and dice it, that I would say.
Well, I think in many ways our accomplishments are fortunate. Fortunate's a better word than lucky. Our accomplishments are fortunate. The fact that we were the first sperm to get to the egg was fortunate. Or, there's a whole bunch of things. Fortunate to live in South Africa and not in Florida during peak climate change problems, So yeah, fortunate to be part of this wave. Do you guys think that this wave and the wealth creation opportunity of Web3, do you think it's sort of crested, or is there so much more opportunity to come? People that invested in Bitcoin and crypto 5 years ago, if they held and were strategic, are smiling now, like yourself. You were very strategic in how you did that, and you can be very grateful for where you are today. Has that opportunity passed us by, or are there still opportunities there? Simon?
There's always going to be opportunities. I think that's one of the things, besides for patience, that you have to realize as an investor is you might have missed the last one, you might miss the one that's happening right now, but there's going to be another one. Like, don't stress about it. Cool your beans and wait for the next opportunity to come along. I mean, people have been trading equities for over 100 years. There's still opportunities in the stock market right now. And sometimes they'll surprise you. One of my best performing investments this year has been Nike shares, because Nike took a dump and they've got a great team, and you're like one of the best brands on the planet. So completely not crypto, but that was a good bet. There's always opportunities. For as long as human beings are around and trading money with each other for things, there will be an opportunity. It might have been Bitcoin 12 years ago. It might be Harry Potter, Sonic, Obama 10 Inu today, which has been another great one this week. In the world of meme coins, it's awash with opportunity. Please don't go and spend as much money as I do on these things, because you'll potentially lose half as much as I have. But no, I think there'll always be opportunity, James. As long as you've got people doing things, there'll be opportunities. And it's about being in the right time in the right place, but also just like learning to be patient. I think that's the biggest thing about unlocking them. And I was lucky to be in Bitcoin early, like I think both of you. I learned about it in 2011. I didn't have money back then to put into it, but I bought some Bitcoin, But if you're buying Bitcoin at 150 Rand and it goes to 500 Rand, you think you're a genius. So what do? You sell it. So the people who bought Bitcoin at $10 and $100 and $1,000 and held onto it, like, these aren't necessarily geniuses. They're probably freaking crazy, or they didn't need the money, so they could afford to just hang on to it, There's a lot of luck involved, but there's also a lot of patience involved in being able to go, maybe not this time, but 5 years from now, maybe the next cycle picks up. So anyway, I'm just waffling now, but there's always opportunity. There'll always be opportunity. And it's only going to grow in crypto because we're tokenizing the world. Everything's moving on chain. The kind of opportunities that we've experienced with the Nvidias and the Nikes and the Apple of the world, you'll be trading those equities on chain in the future. So yes, definitely awash with opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want this to be a waffling session. So we're just going to talk.
Then I'm your guy.
Richard, before Simon waffles some more, Richard, what about you? Do you think the wave is over?
I don't think it's over. And, a real world example is we saw the panel just before we came up talking about crypto arbitrage. Now, there are 3 guys on stage that are giving the audience a way to make insane amount of money. I mean, when I used to do crypto arbitrage, and probably we used to do anywhere between 25 and 35%, and it was absolutely insane the money that we could make. And when you are doing something and you disbelieve the returns and you think, guys, it can't last, it's just so easy. And that's exactly what the guys are saying here. So what I think is that as an opportunity blossoms, the first guys that get in always get that opportunity. But the problem is that everyone gives up very quickly and says, oh, the opportunity is gone, it doesn't work anymore. Or they heard from a friend at a bar that it doesn't work anymore. But actually, if you do take that opportunity, you can't be expected to be rewarded as the OGs and the guys that initially got in. But there is opportunity there, and these opportunities are all around us. And I think that in crypto, those opportunities come up all the time. And when you're not working with crypto, then you're not the first guy to find that opportunity. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities. I do think they diminish with time, but I think that they pop up in areas that you don't know where they're going to pop up, and unless you're involved in the tech, you probably miss them.
Simon, coming back to your point about outside of crypto opportunities that you've seen even recently, I mean, your background and the reason you got into Bitcoin is because you are a tech geek, and I don't mind using that word because I know you embrace it, and so do I. If there are people here who are opportunity seekers, and they're looking, that they love to tinker, they know a bit of code, or they see an opportunity currently with LLMs and AI, where would you say the biggest opportunities are right now, even outside of Web3? Where should people be looking if they're a builder and a tinkerer and an entrepreneur by heart?
Yeah, I mean, my advice would always be to focus on the things that you care about. You might make movies for a living and think that there isn't an investment angle to that, but there is. You know more about the entertainment industry than anyone else. So trading Disney stocks and Netflix shares, and that could be your wheelhouse. Investment is all about information asymmetry, and it's about knowledge. And the things you understand best will make you, a better investor in that sector of the market than anywhere else. Turns out I know a lot about shit posting and memes, so I buy the most degenerate rubbish on Solana every day. But that's what I like, and that's what I care about sometimes. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's a little bit like sports betting is great if you're really into sports. If you don't understand sports ball and you don't know the difference between Liverpool and AC Milan, then probably that's not your game. So, I think that would be at a very high level. My advice is, what do you care about? Because if you care about it, you're not going to get tired of learning about it and researching it and meeting people in that space. And you're going to be a better investor in whatever that thing is than anyone else. So if you're really interested in AI, understand how it works and research it. And you might have missed the boat on Nvidia, but maybe you've discovered that AMD's got a new chip architecture that's going to come up from behind. AMD might be a screaming buy right now. So whether it's video games or even memes, and I think that's the beautiful thing about crypto, is there were a lot of fields of interest that weren't investable 10 years ago. If I was shit posting on Reddit all day and making memes and swapping them with friends and finding my community online, that was a fine way to spend my time, but it wasn't exactly going to make me rich. Now, if you're a meme lord, you can actually turn that into money. It's a beautiful thing that's happened, right? And so whatever it is you care about, you can turn into money now pretty much. And if crypto hasn't caught up with it yet, it will one day. So stick to what you love and turn it into a way to make money on the side as well.
Richard, what do you love? I mean, you started out as, I think it was Netscape, or Netspace, that was it, your internet solutions company. You then got involved in crypto, started AltCoinTrader. As AltCoinTrader's grown, you've become a bit of an influencer with your YouTube videos. You've got a nice following there. You also, I know you invest in property. What is it that you're passionate about and that you love? You know, you go into the office every day. I've had the opportunity to visit your offices. There's a lot of fun happening there, great guys. What is it that gets you up every day to get into that office, to be with your team, and to keep going?
James, when we initially started AltCoinTrader, and I preluded to this earlier, but I'd got to a stage where financially I was battling so much, and we decided that we just want to actually create something that is useful. And I remember discussing this with my brother, and he was in the States, and I said, listen, you know, I'm just really battling. I can't get anything to work. I'm now going to create a service, right? And that grew, and that was fueled by finances that helped us to create a bigger and stronger platform. And we try and keep this, and a lot of people don't understand this ethos or don't understand how serious we are. We'll very often take on projects that will generate very little money or not financially viable, but they are service-related products. So when crypto came around, going from, I thought Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was a Ponzi scheme. But after a very limited amount of research, I realized that this was a life-changing technology, a different way to do finances. And I really got involved to allow everyone the opportunity to buy cryptocurrency in South Africa. Because before Mt. Gox, I was battling to buy cryptocurrency. I was using a platform called Second Life, where you had to go to ATM, you had to get Linden dollars, and then you had to buy cryptocurrency. And this is like way, way back. And we provided that platform where people could buy cryptocurrency. So to answer your question, what gets me going is allowing services that people can use. Whether it's financially viable or just massive on-take. The amount of users, the amount of people that use it, that's what gets myself, and I would say my team now, excited. When we roll out, because you don't have to create anymore. There's so many technologies that you can just piece together, roll out, and you see that mass adoption, and you think, this might not, but it has the possibility of actually really changing things. So that would be it.
Simon, I want to touch on something you said just now about trading equities and real-world assets. Eventually, that's all going to be on-chain. You genuinely believe that? Give us a vision. How would traditional stocks, securities that are currently trading on a limited exchange, you can only get certain stocks on the NASDAQ, whilst you can't get them on the New York Stock Exchange. You can only get some on the New York Stock Exchange that you can't get on the NASDAQ, etc. What's going to happen? Give us a vision of that future.
So for me, and I mentioned these assertions earlier in the talk about stablecoins, but to run through them again, it starts from an observation that, to me, blockchain is a proven technology, right? You've got Larry Fink going on CNBC as often as they'll have him, talking about Bitcoin as part of an investment portfolio. So you've got the CEO of the biggest fund management firm in the world on board. You've got Visa on board, you've got MasterCard on board, you've got Stripe on board, right? PayPal's on board, you name it. Like, this isn't a technology that's going away. It's being embraced by the traditional financial system. And so that's assertion number one. And then my second assertion is the one you just said, everything moves on chain. Why? Because information flows towards the most efficient networks, always, right? And when it comes to trust verification or to like value transfer, like blockchain is the best rails that we've ever invented for this. It's distributed, it's censorship resistant, it's trustless. It's just a more efficient way of doing it. And so to me, it's kind of obvious that the information flow in the financial system has to go on chain, like to take advantage of those force multipliers. And we're already starting to see it happen. So, you know, BlackRock has their Build Fund that they've put together as an index on the base blockchain. You can today buy Apple, Tesla, Nvidia shares on chain. There's a platform, there are a few platforms doing it. There's one with a D that somebody will shout it out, hopefully. but you can go and buy those today.
And if you know it, please shout it out, yeah.
Yeah. And so we're having a lot of these conversations as well with financial institutions in South Africa that grok this, right? They understand that this is the future. You know, if you wanna spin up an investment fund as a smart contract and represent it on chain, that's a super efficient way of running that. You're outsourcing your infrastructure to a virtual machine instead of having to pay AWS or stick with the mainframes that you were using before. So to me, it's just inevitable as kind of the way that we've seen the internet do to every other industry what the internet does, right? The disintermediation, the new efficiencies that kind of force adoption. It's happening to the financial world now because we have protocols for value transfer. So, you know, the newspapers had their day because HTTPS gave us a protocol for content publishing. Telephony had its day because we got codecs and other protocols that enabled us to have things like Skype and Zoom. The television stations had the writing on the wall when we had codecs that enabled, you know, video compression and streaming a la Netflix and Amazon Prime. So when the internet arrives in your industry with protocols that fulfill functions that before took thousands of people and were hyper inefficient, like it's going to be disruptive. There's going to be disintermediation, and you're going to have two kind of incumbents that go through this process. The one kind adopts it, embraces the technology, uses it to gain the advantages that are on offer. It's a painful process, but you end up with a New York Times, right? A thriving business in the 21st century that's adopted this technology. The other kind of business you get digs in their heels, tries to fight it, refuses to accept it, thinks it's going to go away overnight, and we don't know who they are anymore because we've forgotten their names. They don't exist. They're dead, right? They got killed by the internet. Terrible way to go. But I think that's what's going to happen, or that is happening in the financial world now. We've got the protocols, we've got the technology, the internet is coming for it, and you will get two kinds of financial institutions. Those that embrace it, understand that they can't have armies of executives flying around in private jets and buying houses in Omanus with their bonus every year anymore. Like, they're going to have smaller workforces, they might have less customer support in the future, but they can still be around if they embrace this technology. Or they can dig in their heels and pretend that they can fight it, and we'll forget who they are 10 years from now.
Best chains for the next 5 years for this kind of stuff to roll out? I mean, we've heard about L2s. We're seeing some new L1s really make an impact. Sui, Aptos, obviously Solana, but even Solana has now had its congestion issues. Any favorite chains or favored chains that you think are going to be adopted by a lot of these kind of companies?
Sure, that's a big question. So I think I'll start off with the obvious, that the best technology doesn't always win, right? I'm not going to bore you guys with the VHS Betamax story because you've heard it 1,000 times from people in stages with microphones stuck to their faces. But suffice it to say, the best technology is not why something wins. So you have to kind of take that off the table as a discussion. It's fun for us as nerds to talk about the best, you know, consensus mechanism, proof of work versus proof of stake. We've got proof of history now, and all of these different ways of achieving consensus. Nobody in the real world cares about that, right? It's about the narrative. It's about the costs involved. The technology needs to be just good enough. It doesn't have to be excellent. So anyway, if you put all of that together, I think you also have to look at the network effects of adoption from the biggest players in the market. So again, I made this point earlier with stablecoins. It's fairly obvious to me. If Visa and MasterCard and Stripe and BlackRock and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and, you know, all of these big financial players that are moving on chain, if they're building on Ethereum and Solana, like, why are you going to go and build somewhere else so you can be out in the cold? Yes, it might be a faster chain. Yes, it might be a more trustable chain at a consensus level, but you're going to be the one player on that chain while everybody else is applying network effects to each other's ecosystems on that particular chain. So again, this isn't a religious discussion. It doesn't matter whether or not I like Ethereum and the EVM or Ethereum scaling architecture or what's happening with the proliferation of L2s and L3s and L12s eventually. Like, that's a very interesting philosophical discussion that no real person gives a shit about, right? Visa's there, MasterCard's there, BlackRock's there, so I'm going to be there too. Why the hell would I go and build on XRP or anything else, right? So that's just obvious to me, and those are the chains that we're watching. So we've got a really good relationship with the Base team, with Jesse and the team at Base. I think that Coinbase is the way that they're thinking about the L2 scaling debate is pretty sophisticated, and we're having great discussions with them. I tend to be a fat protocol guy, so I think we can squeeze a lot more out of L1s before we move into the protocol scaling space. I really like what's happening with Solana. I'll be honest, I hated it at first at a technical level until I got my head around it and had discussions with Anthony and like really grokked what proof of history is about. You know, it's a beautiful piece of architecture. So I think Solana is great. I think Sui is great. I think Aptos is interesting. I think XRP is a piece of shit. But it doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, where are the big guys? Where's the rest of the industry? Where are the real people picking up in adoption? That's where we need to be. So Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Digital gold, KIF, Lightning works sometimes. Great. Maybe it'll move into the payment space. Ethereum, obviously, is where everybody is. Solana is fantastic. Everything else, TBC. I don't know.
I like that. Richard, what about you? You guys select certain chains for your staking offering. You've got a whole bunch of different offerings there. Why do you choose certain coins for your staking offering and not others? Because I think you have a limited amount of coins on offer there, proof of stake coins, about 9 or 10, somewhere around there. Why do you choose them? Is it because it's easy for you guys? Is it because you're seeing adoption? And what are some of your favorite chains?
So James, I've got 2 parts to this answer. So you almost hit the nail on the head. It is easy for us. But the other thing is that the community often dictate what they want on a platform. Now the second answer, and this might be a contrarian view, but I'm pretty sure, you know, in the limited time that I've got to know Simon, I think he's going to agree with this. The new chains and the new coins and the new infrastructure that's been laid out probably doesn't matter. Because why does it matter? The only reason it could possibly matter is because you want to know which coin to buy so that you can make a quick buck. The fundamentals are this industry is going that way. Everything is going on chain. We're going into that direction. And you're going to be forced to use it. So if you're a builder or you're a guy that cares about what's going to be happening in the future, you're someone who wants to make sure that this whole system changes from where it is. It doesn't really matter as long as you're not left totally out in the cold with your project and you're just like, you know, not on the chain that has any type of relevance, because there will be plenty of time to move on to the chain of mass adoption. And other than being an investor or being investor who wants to make a quick buck on a coin that's going to actually 10x or 20x or whatever the case is, or being a builder that doesn't want to totally get it wrong with where you are, you'll be able to adapt quite quickly in the future. And then the other point, which I always find very, very interesting, is that what Simon mentioned is everything's going digital. I think we all know that. We don't want to bore you. Everything's going digital. And finance is the last pillar to fold. But what is extremely interesting to me is that the government controls us through finance. And before, when photographs went digital, Kodak went out of business, who cares? No one knows. But what happens when finance goes digital and the government starts to lose the ability to control us in the way that they've been doing for many, many years? And that is the exciting thing about cryptocurrency. That is the exciting thing about where we are moving to. We are no longer a species that wants to be ruled by a couple of people. We are devising our own systems that in a peaceful way will give us all a say. And if we don't all have a say, we'll have a protocol that does things fairly. And I think that is the true essence of where we're going. All the rest of it is, well, I mean, it's good if you want to make a bit of money on the way, but the destination is going to be absolutely amazing, and it will uplift most of us.
I hope you're right when you say uplift most of us, hopefully more than what we've seen in the past in terms of wealth creation across other industries. Gentlemen, I'm going to be on my phone looking at responses. So if any of you have a question, James Preston ZA, real easy. Please find me there. I'm going to have a look at notifications right now. If you have a question, please hit me up, James Preston ZA. It'll be so much easier than trying to get through the microphone. Any other coins right now? X. If you don't know what Twitter is, it's now X, just so that you know. Okay, before I get there, while we're talking about X, Simon, do you still use X much these days, by the way, since the takeover?
I'm ashamed to say I do. I still call it Twitter, though. I refuse to call it X.
So do I. So do I. Are you guys looking at anything in particular right now to place on AltCoinTrader, anything to list?
Well, I think that the next obvious choice is probably Sui. So we're looking at listing that because, once again, market demand. I do believe that Sui is a really good network, and I do believe it has a good place. And it is going to be a coin that is probably going to pump everyone's bags in the next season. So it's not a bad choice. There's nothing negative about it. It has the potential to be one of the major chains in the future. So yeah, that would probably be the one that we'd be looking at next.
Richard, what's in your bag right now?
In my bag or Richard's bag?
Simon, sorry, that's the title of speaking. Apologies.
I call myself
You are
Richard too.
so awake that you picked that up. Well done. Apologies.
I wasn't joking about Harry Potter, Sonic, Obama, 10 Inu. I confuse the Obama and the Sonic sometimes. It's a mouthful. You absolutely shouldn't buy that, though. It's run by the worst degenerates on the planet, and you must definitely stay out of their Telegram channel. But it's performed very well financially. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sort of a trader, if you will. So I have bags of Solana that I use for paying gas fees. I have some Sui. I think Sui is an interesting project. I met a guy from Dubai who's building a stablecoin issuance platform built on Sui, and so I needed some Sui to play around with it. And then you'll find all sorts of things on various L2s, mostly meme coins. I was at Token 2049 in Singapore recently, and there was a strong narrative around meme coins, and it was really interesting listening to somebody like Iggy Azalea speak. And I didn't know anything about her. Her music isn't really my kind of thing. But she is eloquent and she's smart, and she was saying these awesome things about, again, like I was saying earlier, communities being able to find each other online and sort of, interact with each other using crypto in a way that they haven't before. So I sat in the crowd and bought some Mother. Why not? Iggy Azalea's coin. Didn't buy a big bag. I think the most exciting thing sitting in my Solana wallet at the moment is I've got a Seeker founder token for the new Solana phone that's coming out next year. It was launched at Token 2049, so I bought the NFT from the crowd. And I don't know how much you guys know about Solana Mobile, but I found the Saga a pretty interesting product. I like the idea that we need to wrestle away the duopoly of Apple and Google controlling, what we're allowed to have on our phones, etc. So I think the Solana Foundation's doing a really good thing with the Saga and the Seeker, and it's kind of cool ordering your phone as an NFT and getting different drops and rewards from meme coin communities for adopting the technology early. So to me, it's kind of the things I find intellectually stimulating or just funny that I fill my bags with. And I try not to lose sleep over the price of them because life is short and I don't want my emotional well-being connected to the price of a dog token.
What percentage of your investable assets, income assets, whatever it may be, but what percentage goes to Web3 in general?
For me? Very little. I mean, I'm a startup founder, so I don't have any spare money. All of my wealth is in equity. I think starting a business is arguably the best investment you can make because it's a form of forced saving. It's a little bit like buying a property. Unfortunately, the curse of people with the entrepreneurial mindset is that we are a little bit too comfortable with risk. And we're really terrible investors because we just pull triggers like, oh, look at this, 500 of that. And so having a forced savings regime, which if you think about it, a startup really is a beautiful way to look after yourself in the future. You're also betting on yourself. You're kind of going, I'm invested in myself and I have to make this work. Otherwise, it's... I've gone through a 10-year period of building quite a few companies and leaving with equity in Curve, and we won't get into what happened at Luno, but so that sits on my balance sheet, but it's illiquid. These companies need to make a run of it, and then I can cash out one day in the future. All of that is to say, it doesn't leave a whole lot of space for buying shitcoins.
Fair enough.
So, but I'd say if you looked at it percentage-wise, like how much crypto do I own versus other assets, any financial advisor in the world would crap themselves at how irresponsible I am because it's probably like 98% of everything I own as liquid assets is in crypto. And they'll say things to me like, well, how do you sleep at night? And I'm like, I don't know how I would sleep at night if it wasn't all in crypto, I wish my whole life was on chain. I love storing value in stablecoins. I can expose myself as a South African to dollar value without having to break a sweat, without breaking any laws, because I'm just acquiring an asset that's denominated in a foreign currency. It's not a forex transaction. It doesn't impact my SDA. That's a beautiful tool. I love the fact that anybody in South Africa can do that, because before, if you only earned a few thousand rand a month as a policeman or a healthcare worker, you didn't have access to the kind of financial platforms that would give you that robustness, and now you can do that on chain. So no, everything lives on chain in Ethereum and Solana wallets for me, even my actual real world stocks that are represented as tokens. If you think of those as crypto, then it's probably closer to 98%. So no, I'm irresponsibly exposed in my liquid assets, and everything else is completely illiquid.
Well, I think that's what this audience wants to hear and likes to hear. So thank you for supporting our own beliefs. Richard, what about you? Are you as high as 98%?
I would be a little bit more conservative, but certainly north of 80% of my wealth is in crypto. And I've got, I started buying properties at a very young age, and I've collected them over the years. And, I've had opportunities where crypto has gone up so dramatically that I've been able to cash out and actually pay those properties off. And then I've gone back to, refinancing those properties and putting that money back into crypto. So at some stage, once you've done that and you've used your, the equity in your properties to finance crypto, that percentage can shoot through the roof. But yeah, I also, I think that anyone that's heavily invested in crypto becomes used to gaining huge amounts of money and losing huge amounts of money overnight. And you almost get to a point where you're not free to discuss it with people, because they don't either believe you, or they think that when it goes up dramatically, you can't tell people because they think that it's all pie in the sky and you're talking nonsense. When it goes down dramatically, you can't do that either. So it's like...
And they just say, I told you so.
Yeah, I mean, there's no win, so...
All right, so you guys obviously don't use X. Either that or X isn't working. So I'm going to take 2 questions only. We are over time, but there's nothing else after this except to consume alcoholic beverages. So why not? Let's take 2 questions, and then we're going to announce all the winners. So who would like to ask the first one? To Simon and Richard. Oh, we've got a roving microphone. Cool.
Dude, we're standing between them and the drinks.
We are, hey? Yeah. It looks like it. Okay.
Like, if
all
we
right,
just
there we
keep
go. Here we go.
quiet,
One gentleman.
beer.
Last question right here before I announce some winners.
I was surprised to hear that Luno has got a compliance division of 40 people that check that the national government controls all these things. But I think Richard, you said crypto is going to take away government control over money. That means those compliance departments will close down.
Look,
good luck, Richard. It's for you to answer.
You see, I think people very often misunderstand the time frame that that's going to happen. So the Rand's not disappearing in our lifetime, okay? But is the Rand here with our grandchildren? I don't think I don't think so. The way things are moving and the way technology is going, I don't think my grandchildren are going to see a Rand. The international globalization that is about to take place with everything going online, I think these antiquated old systems are going to be gone. So is it something we need to worry about? No. We won't be here by the time that evolves. So that's the simple answer.
Sure,
but do I believe that? I do. And just to back that up, for many, many years we had a situation where government and religion were connected, and religious decisions forced the government to make multiple stupid decisions. And we got to a point where we were able to successfully remove religion and state. And I think, even today, are much better off because of that process. And when we can get to a point where we can remove finances from the state, and we get to a position where the government doesn't rule over us with the fear of the very livelihood that we earn, where they have to be more collaborative and look at ways that we can work together, because right now we've got no choice. We listen, or you will be financially punished in one of many ways. But when we get to a situation where that is no longer their weapon, I believe that compliance and possibly these fiat currencies that we all know, will, if they haven't totally disappeared, they will certainly have disappeared for a portion of the population. So you'll have fractions that say, I'm outside of the state, I'm, similar to what we've got now, I'm no longer a South African tax resident, but take that to another extreme. I'm no longer part of this, I'm leaving this fiat section, I'm now totally in crypto, or whatever the currency is of the time. And I think what we'll have is we'll have more and more people developing that attitude and migrating to that type of thing. I know Simon has expressed some disagreement with that, but that is truly my belief, and I'd be interested to hear his views on that.
No, I mean, look, you might be right. Who knows what? The one thing I have learned is that I can't predict the future. No one can. But I think Luno's compliance department can sleep well at night that their jobs are still going to be there in 10 years. I don't think the regulators are going away. I don't think the rand's going away, even in our grandchildren's lifetimes. And actually, I think the macro vectors are anti-globalization at the moment, right? You look at like Brexit, what's happening in the States right now, the rise of the right in Europe. Like, I don't get like hectic globalization vibes right now, as much as I'd like to. I think I'm a bit of a globalist, but that definitely doesn't seem to be the narrative right now. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, like 10 years from now, maybe somebody wants to start a poly market between me and Richard de Sousa, who's going to be right, or whether or not our children will be using rands. But I'm fairly certain that they will be. I think Luno's 40-person compliance department is going to be 100 people 3 years from now with serious headaches. I think there we agree it's in that time frame.
I mean, we've got 14, so we're not far behind.
Yeah. And like that's how society works. So I've never bought into this sort of self-sovereign individual gonna go and live on your own on 4 square meters of land and don't need the country and absolve yourself of the state. It's like, no. Like, I live in the real world. I like living in the real world. I like being part of society. Governments aren't perfect. That's not an argument for getting rid of them. It just means we need to improve them. We know what good government looks like in Sweden and Finland and many other countries. Like, I believe in paying taxes. Like, if your tax money is being misspent, that's a problem with the government, not with the tax framework as a philosophy. It's a proven way of looking after people. And no, it's not perfect, and some taxation is theft, and we can drive a lot more efficiency into the system. But speak to somebody, meet a Swede. If you have any friends in Sweden, phone them and ask them if they hate paying taxes. And they're like, no, I want to pay more, because they get stuff for it, right? They love their lives in Sweden. So they're quite happy to pay their taxes. It's only people who live in countries like America and South Africa where their tax money gets misappropriated and their politicians are absolute clowns where they hate paying taxes and think it's theft. It's like, no, tax. But like, speak to your friends in parts of the world where their tax money gets put to work. They love paying taxes. Can't get enough of it.
Man, I could talk to you gents for ages, honestly, and I think we need to do a proper long fireside chat. But guys, we do have to move on. Gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been epic. It's the last session of the day. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks.